Well, I am joined here in the chorus room of San Francisco Opera with director Shawna Lucey and designer Innes Hopkins, and we have just had the design presentation for San Francisco Opera's brand new Tosca. Tosca is a really important title for this house. It was the opera that opened the War Memorial back in 1932, and the most recent Tosca we've had has actually been a refreshing of that 1932 Tosca, so we thought it was about time for a new one. And Tosca is a fascinating title to delve into, and I am excited to take a few minutes now to talk with Shawna and Robert to understand a little bit more about San Francisco Opera's new Tosca. So, Shawna, can I ask you first, when you found out we were looking for a new Tosca, what went through your head? This is obviously such a beloved title. It's such a title with so many expectations to it.
Yes.
Was that an exciting prospect or a daunting one?
It was a very exciting one. It's an opera that I love for many reasons. I love it because it is so lean. It is musically so lean. There's nary a note you can cut, and it is driving us, to the culmination of the piece. And so, because of its high level of dramatic action and dramatic tension, it's an exciting piece to work on. I also love the fact that she is a tough woman at the center of the opera. I think it's fantastic how strong she is and yet how human. And so it's a piece that I've loved for many years and very exciting. Yeah.
And Robert, is Tosca one of those pieces that you've designed in your head many times already? How many preconceptions did you have coming into this in terms of what Tosca should be?
Well, excuse me. Yes, no. Of course, it's a piece that working in the field of opera. I think the very first opera I ever saw was Tosca, English National Opera. Mm-hmm. So the relationship with it is I've wanted to design it for many years. In answer to your first question, it's about 50% excited, 100% excited, but 50% daunted as well. It's up there as well. It's a wonderfully challenging piece. It has technical challenges because it asks for very specific entrances, exits, specific things that within each act. It's very much 3 acts, so it's 3 big designs. It's an aesthetic challenge because it's set within its period. We weren't interested in moving it to another period. I'm sure that may work, but that wasn't something we were interested in. And that 1800 is there's a beautiful aesthetic to it that we want to try and capture. So there's challenges within there. It's a wonderful story. Telling the story is what we that's what we try to do. That's our role, is to tell the story as well as possible for now. And so yes, excited, very excited.
Now, as you say, the piece is very specific. It's one of the most specific operas in terms of not only place but time as well. Like, we know really down to the specific day when the action is happening in a historical calendar. And in terms of place, how have you taken the specificity of these 3 locations that are very, very concrete in the score and looked at them afresh? What are some of the ways you have integrated real history with an artistic eye, should we say?
Yes, absolutely. When we started speaking about the piece, Act 1 takes place in Sant'Andrea della Valle, which is a specific church in Rome. One can go there and visit it. And in speaking about the psychological tension of the piece, as well as the geographic challenges, we decided to open it up to other kind of interpretations of what the church is. And so our research has led us to a different Baroque church, one in which the colors are more primary colors, which I think we agree that those primary colors reflect Puccini's drama. It's totally linked visually with the way the music is connecting with us emotionally. And because of that, the design is both completely gorgeous, but also is streamlined in a way that reflects just how lean the opera itself is.
Yes, and we right from the start we also said that of course we want scale, but we also, it's a story that a lot of the story is told with 1, 2, 3 people on stage. You want the psychological impact of that to happen in a space that they don't get lost in, but you still want the scale. So we've gone for height, but maybe not as much depth as is definitely possible on your stage. We've pushed everything forward, and we're looking into the corners. We've got the we've angled things, so we're looking into corners. So there's dynamic relationship to the walls. It's not a box. We're looking into the corner of a box, but that allows us to have everything that we want, I believe. We've got the altar here, we've got the chapel there, we've got the door in here, but it allows it to push slightly further forward than if we hadn't turned it on now.
And that notion of peeking into the depths of the corners, I mean, that is so much a part of, I think, your conception of particularly Scarpia, and Scarpia really is the framing character for this piece. I mean, he's the person who really is establishing the drama, and even in death is controlling the drama to some degree.
Yeah, when we were talking about the opera, the first chords are Scarpia's chords. So we know we're in his world, where we have to play by his rules, which you don't know all the rules, actually. You don't know the consequences of the choices you make, or you think you do, and actually you're wrong. And so when you know that you're in a society in which corruption is the ruling idea of the day, there is no safe place. One of the Voltaire quotes that I found when we were beginning to talk about this is, "It is dangerous to be right when the government is wrong." And that is something that is absolutely true in this opera, and is what drives our characters, our heroes, to their fate, is because of that.
Now, Robert, in Act 2, you have created this world of Scarpia's lair, shall we say, which is, again, still in this beautiful Palazzo Farnese. It's still the gorgeous Rococo world of Rome at the time, but you've added a little twist in the middle of the room. Tell us a little bit about.
Yes, well, the room is again, we're looking into the corner of the room. It allows us to have 3 big picture windows with a view of Rome beyond. The door into the room, there's only one way in and out of this room. It's a secure space where all sorts of acts happen. And then in the room is another room, an ante-room within this room, which is built in, which is what we call the torture chamber. To not beat about the bush.
Yeah.
And that's going to obviously have its own door in, but it's a room that is glazed with frosted glass, so it allows us to get a sense of something happening in there without the detail of it. So we can play with shadows, but it's up front and centre. The threat of torture is something that he is using to back up his power. He's not hiding it away. Once you're in the room, this torture chamber is very much part of,
It's an option for you, should you take it.
Yes. Yeah.
No, because usually that's off to the side of the stage.
Yeah.
We don't see anything, maybe a shaft of light, but this, as you say, we're not going to see the torture. We'll see the image of torture in a way.
Yeah, we can control how much of that we see, but the door in you go in, you disappear around. We can control. So yes, we don't. It's all the horror of it is as much in our mind's eye.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've been both working on this probably for a good year now or so, in terms of the process leading up to today and the unveiling of the model. What have been some of the more thorny challenges that you've had to deal with in terms of the architecture of the set and the drama of the set, and how your ideas for the design play out against the reality of once you get into the space?
I think it's there are certainly aspects of Act One that are like a geometric puzzle, how to get the various specific, the door for Scarpia and Tosca comes in, the door into the Attavanti Chapel, the secret door, semi-secret door for fleeing, for running away, the altar, the where the painting that he's working on has come from, all these different things that you want to be in view of the audience. And so it's a sight line, it's a little bit of a push me, pull me. So there was a lot of work on a ground plan, just playing around with the space of how to get everything in the right place, because of course as soon as you move one thing, something else. But in the end, it's sort of, it falls into place, and then you can start working on the model box and making other choices, other details. But you want to get everything in the right place to start off with.
Right. It's kind of like Act Two of Figaro in the sense it's one of those. Act One of Tosca is all about the doors and
yes,
who's coming through which door and
yes,
and how many doors do you need. And
yes. Yes, so many doors.
So many doors. Now, Shawna, as the action builds, there's kind of this back and forth of power struggle really between Tosca and Scarpia, and at the end at the end of Act Two she thinks she's got the upper hand.
Right.
She's got the safety note, and
right.
she kills Scarpia, and we think we're free and clear. And of course, in a way, Scarpia has the last laugh. Laugh may be the wrong word. But how do you want us to be thinking about Tosca as she jumps at the end, as audience members? What's our sense of this character by the end of this very dramatic piece?
Right. It's the piece itself, I think, demands a real exploration of each of the characters that sometimes gets pushed to the side because they are easy to dismiss. She's just jealous and he's a hero and Scarpia's just evil. And I think they give us lines and their music is much more complex than that. So in thinking about her, she is a country girl. She grew up in, some small town. She happened to have this incredible talent of this singing voice. She was in her town choir and then somehow was kind of plucked out of nowhere and brought to a big city and became a star. So if we're thinking about that, it makes sense in terms of her faith, her holding on to her Catholic faith, but somehow struggling with how to be an artist while being a person of faith, and how that she kind of blends the rules a little bit with Cavaradossi and their relationship. And I think by the end, of Act Two, when she says, she tells Scarpia, die damned. And she doesn't forgive him until he's dead. And any person of faith knows that that doesn't work. You have to forgive the person before they die. And so therefore, she tries to make it right by, placing the candles and placing the cross. But it's too late. And so I think that when she gets into Act 3 and she thinks, okay, I'm going to get away with it. Well, of course she doesn't, because then, Mario is dead. And I think at the end, when she is looking at him dead in front of her, what she is left with herself is herself as a murderess and nothing else. Because without his love, her sin cannot be forgiven. She can't be absolved. There's no one who can absolve her of it. So when she goes to kill herself, I think it is her choice. And in some way, she understands she and Scarpia are, they're equal players. I mean, I think she means it when she says, I'll see you in front of God. And God will decide whose sin was worse. Mm-hmm. So I think it's psychologically, there's so much to it, just like the music tells us. I mean, Puccini gave us everything. So
now, Robert, you have designed both the sets and the costumes for this, and how does that differ from just designing one element on its own when you have that overall conception of the piece and you don't split those design roles? Do you prefer doing it that way?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm based in London in the UK, and in certainly in the UK and I think in Europe as well, it's far more that a designer is responsible for both, that it doesn't get split maybe as much as it does in the US. I think that there are some pieces where the sheer amount of work. I mean, if you're doing a big, massive, great Prince Igor or something, you know, it might be too, you know, it's big, but something which is compact as Tosca is. It's a wonderful opportunity to do both, because of course the discussion between the set designer and the costume designer happens, you know, in my own head, and of course with Shawna. But you can keep the everything much more contained within a single vision. So.
Well, tell us a little bit about the costumes and some of the inspiration behind them, the time period you're looking to create with them, and just the flow of how you begin to conceive of the costume look, because for a piece like this, it's such a critical element.
Well, similarly to the set, we wanted there to be some truth to the costumes as we wanted there to be in the set, an architectural truth, but also very much a historical truth to the costumes. We're in Rome. Rome at that point in time was not the centre of the world. It wasn't the centre of fashion, and so Tosca is synonymous with the Empire line dress, which we decided between us very early on that we didn't want to do that. I mean, historically, in the year 1800, the Empire line dress might not have made it to Rome by this point. Certainly in Paris, they were probably wearing Empire line dresses in high society. So we decided that, but also for reasons of aesthetics, we didn't want to. So we're the costume, the silhouette for the ladies is far more 1790s. So we're into a much the waistline is creeping up, but it's not,
Right.
but there's still a shape to the skirt, but it's not as big as it has been. So it's an era where the costume was, you know, you could see where it was coming from and you could see where it was going. The men, it's a beautiful look, high collars, waistcoats, breeches, beautiful tight trousers, boots, lots of boots, a few calves on show for some of the chorus, but I think the principals we wanted to ground in boots. So we're very much keeping to the period. Also, because we're not in Paris or the centre of fashion, the fabric-wise, we're not in miles of silks. We're wool. So the chorus in Act 1, it's more wool, which allows the colours to be slightly muted but deep and resonant and real. The colours. And so yes, we'll try and put the sense of a community coming together in the church in Act 1. Tosca, in Act 2, we're very inspired by a Goya painting, which we are very excited about to find, and so that's led us to our version for Tosca in Act 2. Scarpia is a man who enjoys wearing his clothes. He's a self-made man, and he enjoys, and I'm sure he's got the best tailor in Rome. So he's the smartest cut that we see.
It's either that or into the torture room.
Yes.
But yeah, so best cut or
I mean, you see,
yeah.
And then of course we get to put the Te Deum on stage with all the glorious, you know, pageantry of the procession.
It's a wonderful parade of worlds from Act 1 into Act 3, and again, each is its own little microcosm.
Yes, definitely.
Now we've just had the design presentation, which is the unveiling to the company of the model and the costumes, and we have another day or so ahead of us of meetings, and you'll be meeting and side meetings with costumes and props and scenery and all of the different elements. What do you hope to get from the next couple of days in terms of then taking the show to the next level as we prepare to move into a build phase?
Yeah, I know we're going to talk a lot, for example, with the props department, and it'll be fun to think about all of the, you know, accoutrement, the Te Deum, all of the things that we want to have on stage, and getting into some of the rich detail of the objects in the world itself. I know I'm looking forward. I love props so much, and so it's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, I mean, this is the moment where we share it with the company, and it's been ours for for several months, nearly a year now. It's been ours, and it's been our own private little world of creating it. And now, of course, we get to share it with everyone, and everybody, everybody's experience and knowledge and commitment to the production will move us in slightly different directions, but we'll talk and listen, and and you start to move from theory into actual.
Mm-hmm. I know. It won't be too long before this is on stage in rehearsal. So.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I want to thank you for taking a little time out of this busy day to talk with us and share your insights into this Tosca. I'm thrilled about what we're seeing coming together, and just really excited for this very visionary perspective of Tosca, which both encapsulates a new conception of characterization, I think, in some ways, but also creates this space that will really resonate with people who know Tosca, who are looking forward to getting to know Tosca for the first time. So thank you for your beautiful work and for launching this new Tosca into the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.